Hey there, I'm Shane. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about the basics of lenses. I'm going to be talking about how they're named, their functionality, the differences between prime versus zoom lenses, and ultimately, I hope to be able to help you pick the right lens for your photography or video. So this video is actually part of a series where I talk all about the basics of photography, and I'll have a link on screen now in the description to the playlist with more videos from it, where I talk about things like shooting in manual mode, macro photography, and so on and so forth. If there's a topic that I might move past too quickly in this video, just let me know in the comment section, and hopefully I can answer your question or directly you to the video where I talk about that topic. Let's get into the topic of this video though, and that is lenses and how they affect your photos. A common phrase you might hear is you want to date your cameras and marry your lenses. And this is because essentially lenses are very important. Unfortunately, it's often implied when you're looking at cameras and in camera marketing that getting the latest, greatest camera is often the best way to get those awesome photos, when in reality, choosing the right lens is also incredibly important to getting the photos that you're thinking of. And in this video, I hope to be able to help you pick the right lens for that photo you want to get and what's going to suit your type of photography the best. I'm going to start off with the fundamentals of how camera lenses are named, and it can be rather daunting when you're first looking at it, but I assure you all the numbers mean something. So when you have a lens like this one, which is a 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8, it means that the lens can go from 70 millimeters to 200 millimeters with an aperture of f2.8. I'll go into more of what apertures mean later in this video, and the important thing at the start is the millimeter number, which is a lens's focal length. And to put it very simply, the smaller the number is, the more wide angle the lens is, and the bigger the number is, the more telephoto or zoomed in the lens is. And if there's one topic I want you to take from this video, it's that. The smaller the number, the more wide angle, and the bigger the number, the more telephoto. In general, lenses are divided into three main categories: wide angle, mid-range, and telephoto lenses. Thankfully, these names are really descriptive of what the lenses in that category actually do. Unfortunately though, what a wide angle lens or mid-range lens is considered to be in terms of millimeters depends and varies on what size sensor your camera has. This is a really complicated topic I'm going to cover in another video more thoroughly. However, the most important thing for you to know is the sensor size of the camera that you have. For instance, if you have a micro four thirds, APS-C, or full frame camera. On screen right now, I'm going to have a little cheat sheet to help you figure out what a wide, mid-range, and telephoto lens is going to be depending on what sensor size you're using. For reference, I'm going to be using full frame cameras because they're what I most generally use. And I consider a wide angle lens to be anything less than 35 millimeters, a mid-range lens to be between 35 and 85 millimeters, and a telephoto lens to be anything greater than 85 millimeters. There are going to be gray areas here, and there is no real set in stone definition to what a mid-range lens is or wide angle lens is. And it's going to vary from photographer to photographer, but for the sake of simplicity in this video, I'm going to use these numbers as my definition, and that's what I'm going to mean moving forward. The real important question is, what are the differences between wide angle, mid-range, and telephoto lenses? I'll start off with wide angle lenses and what they're good for. They're often associated with that GoPro kind of look, or like a selfie camera on a phone, where you can get a really wide field of view, giving a lot of context to an image. This makes them naturally really good for landscape photography, where you want your subject to feel very small in the presence and grandeur of nature, or when you want to make a small space feel really big, like when you're doing interior photography, or if you're inside of a car and want to get the interior of the car in the photo. The thing is, this isn't all they're good for, and you can even use them for portrait photography to get some really creative environmental portraits. The one thing you need to keep in mind with wide angle lenses though is they can often introduce some distortion to the image, and at the edge of frame they can make body parts or things feel kind of stretched and make human proportions seem rather wonky, so they can be rather difficult to use. Another thing to keep in mind is that they can get pretty expensive because of the complexity required to make them. So very wide-angle lenses often can be rather disproportionately expensive for what they are. Another phrase you might hear is ultra-wide lenses, and really all these are the widest of wide-angle lenses, and the distortion in them can get rather extreme to the point where you get like a fisheye lens where it looks like you're looking through a bubble because it's just so wide. Next up are mid-range lenses, and these are easily the most common types of lenses that you'll find out there. They have a very pleasing and neutral look to them, and they're often what are associated with our normal human field of view, giving them a very natural appearance. For this reason, they're really good in a lot of different situations, giving you enough subject isolation to get a nice portrait, while also giving you enough of a context to the image that they kind of feel like you're there with them in the image. And also, because they're relatively neutral, they're a lot easier to manufacture than telephoto and wide-angle lenses, making them much more affordable. For this reason, they're often found as the kit lens with a camera, and getting a mid-range prime lens is often what people will recommend when you're buying your first lens. Last up is telephoto lenses, which allow the photographer to get really close to a subject without having to physically get really close to the subject. They have a very narrow field of view that makes the background appear very compressed and flat, while also allowing there to be a huge amount of subject isolation, making the background very blurry and introducing very minimum distortion to the subject of the image. The obvious applications of a telephoto lens is for wildlife and sport photography, where you just physically can't get close to your subject. But there's a lot of other situations where they're very handy, such as portrait photography, where you really want a nice subject isolation, as well as even in landscape photography, and where you want to be able to give a different perspective that you normally just can't see with your human eye. Overall though, what class a lens falls into doesn't determine what type of photography it's good for, and they're not mutually exclusive. However, determining what type of photography you're most interested in will help you figure out what lens might be best suited towards your needs. Next up is the topic of prime versus zoom lenses, and thankfully this is an amazingly easy topic to understand. Prime lenses are stuck at one focal length, so this is the 55mm lens and it's stuck at 55mm, whereas a zoom lens is able to zoom. So this is a 24 to 70mm lens, meaning it can go from 24 all the way to 70mm in all the focal lengths in between. You might then ask yourself, why on earth would I ever get a prime lens? And it's a completely valid question. However, prime lenses have a lot of advantages that aren't initially obvious. Because of their design in having only one focal length, they're able to have much lower minimum apertures, allowing you to shoot in low light situations, and I'll cover it more in another video, but you're able to get better subject isolation by having that low aperture, which is a look a lot of people like. And because of their more minimalist design in less moving components, they're able to be much more compact than a comparable zoom, and have a much better build quality because they have less moving components. Prime lenses also have the advantage of having better image quality at a given focal length at a better price point because they're easier to make and they're optimized for that one focal length. With that said though, some of the most expensive lenses ever made were prime lenses, just because you can get really high image quality and really unique looks from a prime lens. The catch is, though, the creative control and quality that you get from using a prime lens is negated by the complete lack of versatility. For instance, if you want one zoom lens that covers, for instance, a 24 to 70 zoom range, the size advantage you get from having a prime lens quickly diminishes when you have to have 3 lenses cover that one zoom range. So you end up carrying the same amount of weight and have the inconvenience of having to carry 3 lenses that you have to swap between just to cover what one zoom lens does. For this reason, zoom lenses are often preferable in situations where versatility is key, like at an event or a wedding, or where you want to have a more simple, versatile rig, like when you're traveling, where 3 separate lenses would just be impractical. To make things more complicated, there's actually 2 types of zoom lenses. variable aperture zooms or constant or fixed aperture zoom lenses. And as the name implies, variable aperture zoom lenses have an aperture that changes as you go through the zoom range. For instance, this is a 200 to 600 millimeter lens that has an aperture of 5.6 to 6.3 as you move through the zoom range. The advantage of having a variable aperture is that you can have a, relatively speaking, more compact design with a much greater focal range. For instance, there can be a lens with a 24 to 200 millimeter range in a pretty small form factor, making it much more desirable for travel or having a lens that can literally do everything. The disadvantage is there's often a lower image quality associated with variable aperture zoom lenses. And if you're shooting video, you have to change your aperture as you move through the zoom range, meaning you can have a much less consistent look, and it's just a little bit more difficult to use in that situation. Fixed or constant aperture zoom lenses, as their name implies, have the same aperture throughout their zoom range. For instance, this is a 70 to 200 f2.8. So as I go from 70 to 200 millimeters, my aperture would stay consistently at f2.8. The advantage of a lens with this design is that you don't have to make any sacrifices really. And there's lenses with an aperture of f4, which are a little bit slower, but you don't need to change your settings throughout. And in general, there's a much higher image quality. And if you want to opt for it, there's a much more expensive option of getting these f2.8 lenses that are going to have a much better performance and allow you to get that still fast, low light performance of an f2.8 aperture without having to sacrifice the versatility that you get from having a zoom lens. As I said at the start of this video, it's going to be part of a series where I talk about different camera sensor sizes and how it impacts which lenses that you choose, because it's a rather large topic. I originally was going to include it in this video, but it's just way too complicated to put all together. So I have another video made for that, and I hope to put it out pretty soon. With that said though, if there's anything that you want to ask me about or any questions that you have regarding sensor size, lenses, or any recommendations from myself, please leave a comment below. I'd love to answer them and help out in whatever way that I can. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video, as it goes a really long way in helping me grow the channel and make more videos like this. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.